it doesn't help that I went the wrong direction. Switch. There we go. Now we are live.
It's better taste the savor by two-fisted drinkers.
Oh, wait.
We live?
We're live.
Hey, everybody. Coffee and Bullshit, episode number something, probably 7. Couple of guests.
I went the wrong direction. Our special host. There we go.
So Katie's back with us again today. Today we have Barine, Craft Urban Bud. Introduce yourself, tell them.
Hi, Bernie Laskowski. How you doing?
I'm like trying to share it. There we go.
This is like a party button.
Yeah, you can share it on your page. So now I have it
Let's
hopefully on my page. There it is.
There it is. Then you can start the party line. I guess there is. Watch party. Start.
Watch with friends.
Ooh.
Oh, man. Oh, this says you can only start with a group.
Oh, really? Well, if you watch it, it's going to show everybody that's on your
All
friend
right, Bernie,
list.
tell everybody about your restaurant, what your place is, what's up.
Hold on, let me finish my social media here.
Yeah, gotta get your social media going.
All right, here we go. Got to do Malort.
Oh, God.
Are we shooting this, or is it a...
Yeah,
Oh,
you
God.
just slam it. Just slam it. Oh, you've had worse in your mouth. You're okay.
That's true.
That's pretty good.
See, I like it.
Ooh,
I think it tastes good.
it burns.
I like it.
You want any water, coffee?
Oh,
You
okay.
sure? Water?
Thank you.
It's good.
Okay.
It's got a strange taste.
Coffee. Water.
Oh, it closed captions us in case people can't understand what we say.
Oh, I know sign language, but it's just this. Can anybody see that? No.
Brilliant.
Your fingers are too little.
I know. They're little and chubby.
Will it pop up if I swear? Will it show a swear word or will it censor
who
me?
knows?
I don't know. Ask.
Fuck.
Oh.
Whoops.
Now the
That was
podcast
probably
is
not the
dead.
good go-to.
Now we can't be on Disney Plus. So that, Katie just killed that for us. Thanks, Katie.
Darn it.
Awesome. Well, I'm Bernie Laskowski, owner of Craft Urban, former Marine, former seminarian, former Chicagoan, and now we live out here.
Fantastic.
He's converted to a suburban night. I don't know. Do they still call them suburban nights or
Suburbanites?
Suburban.
suburbanites?
I think so. But I live in Aurora, so it's the second largest city. So I wouldn't really call it a suburb anymore.
That's true.
Yeah. And don't you have a place still being built in Aurora, or is that?
We bought a building, me and a buddy of mine from the School of Infantry. So Barrett Michelle, he is out here. He's a colonel at the Reservist Command in Darien. We bumped into each other a couple years ago. One thing led to another, and so the opportunity to redevelop a building in downtown Aurora was presented to us, and it's on 41 Stolp. So we were able to buy the building, and we'll have the lot next door, so it's a 2-lot building.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be 2,400 square feet of an outdoor patio, and then an inside restaurant of another 2,400 square feet with private event space up top.
Nice.
So we were in the process of developing that before COVID happened. COVID came in and kind of shit the bed pretty much for everybody.
Yeah.
But the city of Aurora has been really great. The mayor, Richard Irving, he's an Army vet, Desert Storm. So back in that time. So he's very much about trying to change the city. You know, it's about changing the old regime that was there and bringing in fresh blood, fresh eyes, and wanted to redevelop the second largest city in Illinois. So we're on track, and we're just waiting for the permits to come in, and then we'll break ground and go crazy.
Yeah.
So how has COVID treated Craft Urban?
It's like, I don't know, it's like being raped in prison.
It's been gentle and loving. Wanted gentle and loving. Huh? Prison was different for me.
It's, I'd say COVID's very surreal because, you know, as you go to school, you learn about all this stuff. You know, you learn about the Depression, you learn about this. You don't have anything that's real, that's tangible.
Correct.
We did have the Great Recession. When was it, 2008? You know, it was the market crash of that. So we lived through that, experienced that. So everybody's 401ks, you know, financial savings just go to the shitter. And I always said, if anything ever happens, I never want to be in that position again, which is why we started our own business. Being independent business people, you are a little bit more able to move than if you work for somebody.
Right.
So if you work for somebody, and let's say this was Gun Barrel Corporation, and you guys were all employees, the first thing they would do is look at you and then fire you and then they protect themselves. And I hated being on that position where they look at you and they're like, they don't care what you contribute to the company. The owners will look at you as a liability because it's a financial liability for how much they pay you.
And you can't fire yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so here, when this came through, we kind of saw the trend of the sales drop. It was going to be one of our greatest years. You know, as we were trending, looking at all the sales, we're like, oh my God, this is great. Yes, it's awesome. And then we just saw the information come through. And it doesn't matter what side of the fence you stand on. For us, it tracks financially. So we started losing 10%, 15%, 25%, then 50%. My cousin was getting married. He was an individual that I trained to be a chef. So he came up here as a young man in his 20s, put him through restaurant boot camp. And so he was getting married. We all flew out to Puerto Rico. The whole family had a great time, partying, getting drunk, having a good time. And then the shutdown happened. So we were on Puerto Rico handling all the logistics of how to make sure that you don't bleed financially and what has to happen to continue the business moving forward. So as soon as we landed, we had to lay off our entire staff. That's the first thing. So we had to let go 20-something employees. But it was good for them because we're able to give them guidance and get on unemployment right away. Do this, do this, do this. So we were there to help them make sure that they weren't suffering. And that was the most important thing. And then when we were able to open back up for limited service, certain businesses were not affected by it.
Right.
But that was because their concept had led themselves to what you would look at as saying, well, I just want takeout. I want takeout pizza. I want takeout Mexican. I want takeout, Thai, Chinese, whatever. So they were able to maintain a little bit stronger revenue than a sit-down restaurant, like a breakfast place that doesn't really translate too well for to-go food.
Right.
In our restaurant, I mean, we've always done to-go. We were the first. As soon as we opened, we were right on Uber to go, Grubhub, because that's just
the nature of the game. I mean,
it's just extra money.
Right. But don't they take a lot from you too?
Well, you don't look at it that way.
Okay.
So it's called ancillary sales that you don't even think about. So they sell it, they pack, they deliver it. So you get this nice little free iPad and it goes ding. You hit it, guys, make this. They make it, put it in a to-go container, and then someone walks up to the bar and I'm here for sales delivery.
A nightmarish Uber Eats story. And it's called I was up all night because quarantine has me all messed up. And so since like 3 o'clock in the morning, all I could think about was Taco Bell. So I'm like, when is this place open? I'm getting me some Taco Bell. So I ordered like 500 things, and then I just patiently waited for it to be open. 11 o'clock comes, I order it. And the Uber Eats man went and picked up my order and then canceled it and stole my fucking Taco Bell. I was like, dang! I was so excited, and I was so disappointed. So then I had to write a little letter to Uber Eats called, "Your driver stole my Taco Bell." He went and picked it up, and then never came to my house with it.
So they give your money back?
Yes, they did. They were really good about it. It was just like, I mean, like the evil part of me, I would totally do that to somebody if I was driving Uber Eats and I was like, ooh, chips and salsa, clocking out, gonna take this home.
Yeah, when you think about it.
Yeah.
I would be stoned out of my mind delivering. Munchies kick in. Oh, they won't know.
Yeah. I ordered
one missing taco or
I ordered a chocolate shake the other day, and I was so excited. I'm like, this is like having a boyfriend, and they bring you good stuff, and then you pay them $4 and they go away. It's like
to go away.
the greatest, greatest relationship ever.
Yeah. So prostitutes pay not to come but to leave, right?
Oh God. Women don't have to pay for that. We can get it any time.
Right,
yeah, you guys control time and space.
Yes.
We do. We're very powerful.
We always pay for it. Whether it's through marriage, whether it's through nursing.
Or it's begging.
Yeah.
Just touch it.
You guys got the short end of the stick for sure.
Hey now. That's what she say now.
So you're doing stuff for the American Legion?
Yes, we are. So the American Legion, particularly our post 75 in Geneva, they've been affected by COVID with the limited amount of banquet events, which is what they would rent the space out and generate revenue for.
I feel like millennials don't know what an American Legion is, just to like go off topic for a second, because I told my son what you were doing, and he's like, what is that? And I was like, oh, God.
Well, how old's your son?
17.
Are you a veteran?
No,
Okay.
my dad was.
So I don't think it has anything to do with generation. It has everything to do with where you are in the system of military service.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a military family. So we've 3 generations of people in the military. So we kind of knew that. Generationally, though, in the 80s, which is, I went in 88 to 92, it was kind of looked at as a step down.
Yeah.
Because we kind of created that whole caste system of go to college, go to debt, do this, do better than your parents, become a doctor, lawyer, accountant, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the seminary, and it was a business college prep school. So they were like, maybe this isn't for you. And I was like, yeah, I don't think school's for me, because most of us are hyperactive, crazy, really looking for mayhem and chaos. And
yeah, but seminary school, I feel like that would like sedate you a little bit. Does Jesus not sedate you into like...
I think it only sedates the women, because in Chicago, you go to Catholic school or you go to public school.
Yeah.
So a majority of the schools you went to were all private. So it was based on neighborhood or ethnic makeup. You had Maria, which was predominantly Lithuanian, and then you had Lourdes, which was predominantly Polish, Mother Macaulay, Irish, and the same thing with the boys' school. You had St. Rita, Leo, De La Salle, Quigley. So you kind of went with that. We were socially retarded because we didn't know how to deal with, people of women. Girls didn't know how to deal with boys. We didn't know how to deal with girls.
Yeah.
And then the whole sex thing, kind of the stigma, where if you masturbate, your dead grandfather's going to watch you.
Oh, God, that's what they told you?
Sex is...
It always made it better for me. I was always like...
You're like, hey, Grandpa,
Right, it's not incest.
watch
I'm
this.
like, what do you think, Grandpa? I mean,
Yeah, how am I doing?
he was like, he would encourage me. You're doing it wrong. Like, just like when he was alive.
Yeah, and, it was the whole sexual oppression and guilt, and the whole time growing up, you're trying to, be a normal adolescent teenager, and it doesn't really happen because you're like, no, I need to save myself for marriage and God. And I was like, I like girls. And I was like, maybe this isn't for me. And just kind of went that way.
So after that, you went to the Marine Corps?
Yep. My mom said, because it's...
That has to be jarring. Like,
No,
I know
not
a lot of
jarring.
Marines,
No.
and they're like,
You didn't grow up with a Latin mother.
no.
You didn't grow up. So it was like we had rules, we had regulations, I had chores that we had to do. We got paid an allowance, so it was like you got to get this done, and you get a little bit of money. Back then, my parents were making zero money. I mean, they were making $5 an hour back in the 80s each. So to be able to be, send your kid to private school and then give them allowance.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, and we never went without, but we learned the importance of rules, regulations, and discipline. So I'll never forget the first day having to do a field day in basic training, which is like your very first Friday. Everyone else was freaking out, and most guys didn't know how to clean. They didn't know what to do. And I just thought it was like a normal Saturday.
Yeah.
Like it would be at my house.
Italian
with my mom.
household.
I did the same thing
Yeah.
with the Italian household, yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm cleaning the baseboards today, right?
Yeah.
That's fine.
So it was like, it all kind of made sense, and there's, when you grow up in that culture, it's very strict, it's very regulated. I think those of us who are hyperactive, or have, ADD or ADHD going in that type of environment, it's very calming. You have regulations, boundaries, expectations, and if you don't live up the expectation, you get a boot in the ass. So
There you go.
Or a broomstick, or the old wooden spoon.
yeah.
Belt.
Oh yeah, you got beat up.
Yeah.
That's how it worked, and it kind of straightens you out and teaches you the importance. And the first day, I had to stick my head in the sand. That was like the second week of boot camp. When you go to your platoon, you lock everything up, and we were on the top floor of the barracks, and then they send you outside, and they just thrash you. So the entire day is getting thrashed to acclimate you to what's going to happen. And your first week, which is receiving, is nothing really.
Right.
You're like, okay. But then the first day of basic, when it really starts and your drill instructors get you, they thrashed us, and I remember having to stick my head in the sand, and they're like, stick your head in the sand. And I was like, but I'm going to get dirty, sir.
No.
And it's like, from that point,
Why were they making you ostrich yourself?
it's rules and regulations that teach you. If they say do it, you do it.
Yeah.
How high? Okay, I'll do it.
And it's conditioning. It's another form of high-intensity interval training to get all these people into shape so that you can handle the physical activity of being in the military. So there's all a rhyme or reason behind it.
Yeah.
But that was the wake-up point.
So what got you into cooking? And
Well, when I got out in 92, the economy sucked. It was fucking terrible. You filled out all your applications for the police department, fire department. I was on my 5th job, so I painted cars for Earl Scheib for $99.99. Refinished furniture for Sears. Mind you, I don't know how to paint cars. Don't know how to refinish furniture.
They're
but
like, get in here. You're a Marine.
you just do it, you know. And then I got a job as a security guard for the Mayfair Hotel, which was cool. I'm like, okay, fine. I finally got hired for a skill that I had because I was an infantry Marine. While I'm waiting to get accepted to the police departments. All these guys come out, and they're all kind of like cool, kind of hip. Had that same vibe that we all had in the military, except they're wearing white coats,
White coats?
chef coats.
Oh.
And I was like, what do you guys do? They're like, oh, we cook upstairs in the restaurant. And all I did was I'm sitting there behind the desk looking at screens, walk around the building, check doors.
Good
It's
old
like,
security work.
I was like, this is fucking
I know, I feel like that's
boring.
a normal, like, military transition. Like, I know a lot of guys that went from military to security.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because not every police station or fire department's hiring, so there's a wait list, and
Yeah. And they had a position open up. I applied for it. They're like, sure, come on up. I didn't know how to cook. They're like, we'll teach you how to cook. And then when I got, back then you got a letter in the mail. It was a card that said you've been accepted into the police academy. Report on this date for such and such. I was making $8 an hour, and I forgot what the starting pay was, but it was pretty good. I was like, I don't like people that much. So I threw that in the garbage. And I went down because it's kind of...
Like, especially now.
Yeah, it's like the path of the least resistance, but also the most interesting. And so things that are interesting, you stay engaged with, and you don't get distracted.
Right.
And then it was just something that was really engaging. And it was fun. It's artistic. In high school, they said, you'll never be an artist. You'll never make money being an artist. And I was like, okay, bet. So here I am as an artist, being able to be creative, also being able to teach and coach people. So you have that huge reward. And then recently, I would say like the last 10, 15 years, it's the punk rock interest from Anthony Bourdain, where you have a lot of people who look at it and say, this is a cool industry to get into. I really don't fit into the mainstream normal. I'm not going to go in the military. I'm not going to go to college, but this guy Anthony Bourdain looks cool, and looks like a fun lifestyle. So they got involved. I grew up in the industry where it was all proper military format. So it's a classic brigade system. Most of the guys from Europe all did time in the military, so it was very structured. The chef I trained under for a long time, he was an Army brat. So his dad was an infantry officer. And so we had to have regulation haircuts, clean shaven every day, pressed uniforms. Your hat had to be 2 fingers over your brow. I'll never forget, I came in one time, I forgot to shave.
Uh-oh.
This is 24 hours. And I was the AM sous chef. And he looked at me and go home.
Oh.
Sent me home. I had to go get a razor. I had to shave before I could come back to work. So to have that structured kind of made sense.
Yeah.
Everything was, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to party real hard, which is what we did in the military. And then you're going to come back and you're going to work in the kitchen. Working in the kitchen's nothing compared to being, an infantry Marine. Where, fine, you want to go drink, it's nickel beer night, Calico Jacks. You're going to drink $20 worth of beer. But guess what? There's a PT tomorrow. So you're going to have to run 3 miles. And you just got home and you smell like beer. So, it was
get
pretty...
up, run, throw up. Yeah.
And it's cool because you get to give back to the environment, you get to help people, you get to make people happy, you know, and you get to do all these different types of things that, you know, someone like me who can't sit still for 30 minutes, it just makes it fun.
Yeah.
So I guess you can say it's the squirrel mentality.
My dad was in the Army, and then when he got out, he opened up a restaurant. And so he was the chef at that restaurant. And
Oh, awesome.
all that good stuff. But he did the same thing where he, like, ran it like Army.
Mm-hmm.
And all his employees had to be a certain way and who was working for him and everything like that, too. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a good transition.
It makes sense. There's systems that are in place that make, you know, sense. The brigade system was established by two individuals, Auguste Escoffier and Ferdinand Pointe. Their background was the military, and they were hired for the Ritz-Carlton to create recipes and bring this ragtag group of individuals. And back in the day, the individuals that worked in the kitchen were out of jail. They were people that couldn't really fit in society, and you were relegated to the basement of these places. So they brought the military structure. You know, everyone has a job to do, and then there's a chain of command, and you can't assert your chain of command, and you have to follow orders to do this. Because in order to put out thousands of meals a day, and our profit margin is almost minuscule,
Right.
you have to have systems to do tracking, accounting, forecast, production, because we prepare fresh. There's nothing that comes in revenue-wise ahead of time. So we're probably the opposite of intelligent business, where we open a business, I think we're going to do this much per day. So you have to have a good statistical foundation to forecast what's going to come in, what's going to be prepped, so that nothing goes in the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what other chefs have you worked under?
So two guys, Brian Newkirk, Jeff Rupp, those are the first ones out of the Mayfair Hotel. After that, they closed because they were sold. And so I went to go work for a company called Let Us Entertain You. So
Yes.
they're a very big restaurant company in Chicago. They opened this restaurant called Papa Gus Greek Taverna. So for those in the industry, there is a famous French restaurant called La Francais. It's no longer. And the executive chef was called Jean Blanchet. So he was, I guess you can say, the cornerstone for Chicago culinary. So that was the standard. And with Let Us Entertain You, they would recruit chefs from Europe to come in to work in their restaurants. So they had, usually at one point in time, you would only have 2 or 3 fine dining restaurants. At that time, they owned all of them. And so chefs that would be recruited by the Playboy Club with Hugh Hefner, when they would work their tenure out there, he would hire them and develop different restaurants. So you had Ambria, Gambino Santiglione, you had John Joho at the Everest Room, just to name a few. And these two chefs, Jonathan Fox and Tom Collini, Jonathan Fox, subsequently, you guys have heard of Maggiano's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He developed it.
I just got really excited about that, sorry. Like pizza.
He developed it and sold it, back in the 90s, which is a huge feat to do, to be able to create a restaurant that has such mainstream approachability, and to be that financially solvent that a company came in and said, we want to buy it.
Mm.
So they did. Jonathan Fox worked for Jean Blanchet, and then Tom Collini as well. He was the pastry chef. So it was a very high-volume Greek restaurant where everything was made from scratch. So it wasn't the Euro cone that you're used to seeing. That's a big lump, looks like a meatball.
Right.
We had to hand pack them. So it was hand sliced, lamb shoulder layered in between pork shoulder. We had chicken gyros. We would make our own sausages. So it was a fun, high-volume experience. From there, I went to go work with John Joho at the Everest Room. Being a military person, I went to culinary school, and so you have all these kids, and there's this fear mentality that's bred into them from the restaurants. And when you're from the military, that's kind of a joke. You're like, you can't hurt me. No one's going to die. And so I said I want to be the best, and I want to choose the hardest restaurant and I want to do the opposite of anything I've already done. So everybody wanted to work in savory. The Everest Room at the time was one of 2 4-star restaurants in Chicago. So I said I want to do pastries. So I got to work with him, do pastries there. And he was very approachable, where he would say, you need to know the origins of everything that you cook, where we lost touch with that because of the industrialization of our food. After World War I and after World War II, it was all about mass producing food, processing ingredients to where it had no nutritional value, and then being able to engineer it so that factories can mass produce it. TV dinners, Kellogg's Corn Flakes, all those types of cereals. That's not real food, but it's Americana.
Right.
Okay. So in other parts of the globe where food is life and it's ingrained culturally, where you wouldn't think about, where you think about the food, you think about the growth of it, what animals you're going to eat. That was eye-opening. So we got to go to Europe, and we spent time in Europe traveling around and learning the history of food, understanding how Italy influenced France, and France is considered the god of all food in the world, and the origin of fancy food. But it really boils down to Italy, and that was a queen being given to the king of England to be married, or France to be married, and she brought her crew with her, which were cooks, and they brought their cooking style, and so that changed how everything is produced. And they're very union based. There's guilds. So if you want to make coffee, you have to belong to a guild of coffee makers, and if you want prosciutto to call it prosciutto, it has to come from a specific region. Otherwise it's just called ham. And then the same thing with Parmesan. So that was fantastic, and developed that passion of just simple quality and amazing food. And then came back here. Randolph Street. Do you guys know Randolph Street in Chicago?
I know of it, yeah. I never really.
Okay, so that part of Chicago, it's Randolph Street, Lake Street, Fulton. It's closest to the highway, but that would be your warehouse district. So you would have produce markets, you'd have butcher houses, you'd have all this stuff there. So it was a seedy part of Chicago, very seedy. There was a company called KDK. That was Jerry Kleiner, Dan Krasny, and Howard Davis. They looked at that part of Chicago, and it had the lowest amount of rent, but they're like, we can build something that's going to draw people. So they built this Italian restaurant called Vivo. So it was very avant-garde. It was about as wide as this building. Really cool wood-fired grill. The chef was Massimo. I think it's Santileone, and he's now the corporate chef for Mia Francesca. And I know you guys have heard Mia Francesca. Mm-hmm. So that was like the first stake in like what we would call hip casual dining as opposed to fine dining. Dining was always relegated to wearing a suit and a tie, proper, all this kind of shit.
Like the old mill race.
Exactly.
Right, you can't come in without a coat on.
Coat on, yeah.
Exactly. And so they started it where it became hip, fun. And then they did a restaurant across the street, a French one called Marché. And I worked with this one chef, Michael Cornick, who's the perfect example of a guy who got beat up his entire life and becomes a chef, and then just yells at everybody and becomes this tyrant because of his inferiority complex. So I got to experience years of that kind of, where it was just kind of funny.
That's what I like to think about. What's his name?
Ramsay?
Yes. Is that like he just had the shit beat out of him as a kid, and so
he was. He does that for TV.
Yeah.
It is a fine dining kitchen at times, yes. So it's all attention to detail.
I like when he yells at customers. That's my favorite.
I think he just does that for TV.
I still like it.
It's good that they actually get to go back against customers. That part, I do like that part, right? Like, you know what the hell you're eating.
Well, right? I will give you a little nerdy piece of this. So there's a famous chef called Marco Pierre White. So Gordon Ramsay worked for him, and Marco Pierre White was this crazy rock star, youngest, Michelin 3-star chef. I think he was only 24 at the time. And he didn't give a fuck. It was always about just doing things to the level of perfection. Mm-hmm. And you, as an artist, you have to balance between making people happy and giving them your art. And at that particular time, I guess you can say you had a lot of Chads and Karens coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And so they would be demanding, and they would start to say things and do different types of things. And he was the first chef to kind of take the stand to say, yeah, I'm not going to tolerate that. You can leave. I'll buy you dinner. If you're not happy, just go and don't come back. So that's kind of like the folklore behind the image with what you see with Gordon Ramsay. And then for us, we all believe in sensational TV, you know? And so people look at that and they right away think that's how we are in the restaurant industry. But that's just for TV.
You were on TV at one time, right?
A lot. I mean, I've been in this industry 30 years. You're on TV a lot. So it's all part of marketing and PR.
Right. But you were on that cooking show on...
Well, it was Man Fire Food. And then I've done other pieces on the Food Network where they would come in and do best of. I opened a restaurant called Pin 36, so they came and did stuff for that. I would never do Top Chef, Chopped, any of that shit. That's a fucking joke.
Did you work with Emeril Lagasse?
Mm-mm.
No? Who was
Nope.
that one chef? I can't remember.
Well, you had Michael Cornick, then it was Mark Baker. And then I worked for another guy, Paul Wildermuth, who was a hippie Hawaiian. Really mellow, kind of taught me how to make people do things and kind of learn how to be a leader. It was really through him, because I had one person who was just like, scream, yell, ah! And you're like, okay, I guess that's how you do it. But it didn't work. And then I worked for Paul, and Paul was very, like, he was almost like Mr. Rogers. You know?
Aww.
Yeah, he was just really cool, super intense, great food. Everyone that worked for him loved him. Fortunately, he died at a very young age, had heart issues, and kind of dropped dead.
So how do you treat your employees?
I'm sure if you talk to people throughout the course of my career, they'll say, he's an asshole. It's an evolution, you know. I mean, in retrospect, I'll say I didn't treat my employees good, you know, because it's all about learning. And even still till today, you as a leader have a lot to learn. And you have to, you know, evolve in leadership skills. I treat them the way I want to be treated. So sometimes my wife, you know, who's in charge of the accounting, doesn't agree with that, you know. But I remember being in that position, you know, where you put forth 110%, and that it's still going on in Chicago right now, where you have these businesses that, you know, they're busy. They're making $5 million, $10 million, and they don't want to pay their employees because, you know, you're working for me. You're going to make money later on down the line. So they pay these cooks the bare minimum. You can't make a living in Chicago.
Yeah.
You know. And so the average cook in Chicago right now, I think the minimum wage is at 14. These are skilled tradesmen. They're only making $14 an hour.
As much as McDonald's employees. Less than sometimes.
Yeah. So, and that's a whole nother government issue where you have lobbyists who don't look after small business. They only, you know, they look at Walmart, which is your, you know, it's traded on the stock exchange, all that kind of shit. They can afford to pay a livable wage, but they don't.
Right.
You know, you have clothing stores, Kohl. They hire all these people for the season, pay them the minimum wage, which out here at one time was $9. Now it's up to $10 as of July 1st. And by 2025, it'll be up to $15 an hour. So it's a livable wage. People can live on that, you know. And so for us, we learn how to balance, because I look at that person that I just taught how to cook has the same skill as a drywaller, carpenter. They have to know all these different things with sanitation, method and technique, and proper food service handling. It's constant studying, you know. And unfortunately, because of the lobbyists, restaurants like us fall into the McDonald's category. You know, they're a big company. They can't afford, you know, to pay people top dollar and a good wage. And if they want to work there, more power to them. You know, for us, we can't afford benefits.
Right.
You know, so right now we're hit with the new thing. If you have a certain number of employees, you have to create a retirement program, which is, I think, okay. But if it's going to...
Instagram feed. Computer died.
No.
Oh, that was.
Oh.
There's a battery problem. It's a battery running low.
Oh, do we stop now?
All right, so what's one thing you can tell somebody at home to make them a better cook or better chef? What's one key that people don't know?
Oh, how to cook at home?
Yeah, so like I'm going to cook at home. What's one thing you give them, being a professional chef and all the years you've had experience, what's one thing you could give people that would make them a better cook at home?
All right. The one thing that I will give people is eat your fucking vegetables. Food is expensive. Do not be that family where my kids eat this, my husband eats this, and I only want to eat this. Eat the old-fashioned way. Go support your farmer's market. Buy vegetables. Eat your vegetables. And learn that protein is only... It's not supposed to be a focal point of your meal. And don't pay attention.
My whole life.
Why are you saying that?
Don't pay attention to the shit you see on TV.
Maybe there's definitely a potato.
Oh, here we go.
And there might be some vegetables.
I feel like every man that grills is like, look, meat is why we're all here.
Right. Why would you not come? I mean,
That's only been
I
conditioned.
think Ron White said it the best. Like fish, fish is almost a vegetable.
Fish is good.
I love fish, but he's like, it's like fish is almost a vegetable.
The fish is good.
I love
Right.
fish.
So he's like, it's not red meat. It's not red meat.
I'll take him to Alaska. I've been up to Alaska fishing with families up there, and it's
I love all kinds of fish. Though.
salmon, halibut.
I only like to eat fresh stuff that I catch.
Exactly. Like we're in the Midwest. We're landlocked, so nobody's really into seafood up here.
Yeah.
I love it.
But let me ask you this question: you go eat in our restaurant, are you thinking about eating seafood?
No, I go to specific places for seafood.
There you go. That's the marketing condition.
I'm a sushi person.
I love sushi, right? So
I wouldn't eat sushi out here if I were you.
we have our spots.
I eat it from gas stations. I eat it from the
I
grocery
eat the gas station
store.
sushi, but
I will eat sushi from anywhere.
I love sushi. So it's like we have like one place we know we love. It's like better than everybody else. Every place we found in the area. I don't care if I get some worms from it. Okay, lose a little bit of weight.
Yeah, and that's the conditioning. You know, growing up in the city, the restaurants in the city, all the restaurants would have good quality seafood. So I'm a seafood snob. Seafood just doesn't sell in our restaurant, not because it's not a good dish or approachable. When we did a customer survey and started talking to people, they're like, "Yeah, we're not thinking about eating seafood when we come here. We want to go to Bob Chin's."
But there's a very weird mentality we've all been conditioned with since we were young. That like you don't eat seafood at a non-seafood place because there's a good chance that it hasn't been handled or prepared or taken care of, so you're gonna get sick, right?
But that's because we're in the Midwest.
Right, but that's always been like, I don't eat seafood from there because it's gonna be bad. You're gonna get sick. But you go to a place who does seafood, that's what they do, then you're okay.
No, but here's the contradiction. You don't want to eat. I know this is on social media. You don't want to eat some of the sushi that's out here.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's frozen. You know, right now tuna's endangered. Majority of the salmon they're going to get is farm raised.
Sure.
You know, so you're taking a chance.
Well, no, I mean there's instant difference between here and anywhere on the coast.
Oh, exactly.
Right, as soon as you go to California, you immediately tell sushi out there is a whole different.
Oh, exactly.
Clam chowder out there is something different that I've never even experienced until I went there and like, oh, this is what clam chowder is supposed to taste like.
Oh, exactly.
Right? You eat it out of the can, you eat from whatever restaurant, then you go there and you're like, oh, this is actual clams caught today that was actually made into a soup when the boat got back. Right? They actually made you're like, oh, that's what a fresh clam tastes like. That's so much different.
And those are the companies that we worked with. So all the seafood we would get would be flown in from the East Coast, West Coast. I had a purveyor from Alaska that king crab. So all king crab when it's caught is processed.
Facebook stopped.
That was Facebook. This is Instagram.
Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Now we're back. Well,
And we're back.
in a minute.
Like, I ate sushi from HEB last week.
From where?
HEB, that grocery store in Texas.
So like, oh, that's fine, but like,
Oh yeah, but I mean,
I'm not doing the gas station sushi because it's just like
Unless you're in
I don't
Maui.
care.
If you're in Maui. So
No.
the gas station sushi in Maui
that might be
is pretty...
some.
Right, it's not floating.
Mahi-mahi?
It's not floating. It's in the back of a truck for 6 days, and it's carp from the Fox River that they caught up to make it look like sushi.
From the Fox River.
Carp sushi.
Like,
That'd be.
just-
There you go.
that's why I think of gas station sushi. Like around here, is like that's just carp from the Fox River.
It probably is.
Fox River's a good fishery.
No, it has good fish in it. It's not a good fishery. It has some great fish in it. It's not a good fishery. When the sewage plants along the Fox River could dump their gray water in there,
Should be back.
it's not. If you go anywhere outside Illinois
Here you go.
and you see a river outside Illinois,
Oh,
you see
God.
you see what a river's supposed to be.
Salute.
Exactly.
Right? What? I was in the Smoky Mountains. We stopped in the river up the mountains.
Sure, you want something to
When
drink?
the water was clearer than the water that comes out of our tap here. We're like, oh, that's what a river
Like,
can
I
be.
like the
You go
burning
to Wisconsin,
sensation.
the Wolf River's clean and clear, and you're like, oh, that's what a river can be. So it's a whole different experience when you see what people take care of the water. So.
Oh yeah, it's all, and it's, you know, you can thank the president. He's gonna get rid of all the regulations so we can dump more shit in our waterways.
Here it is.
Well, but it's not just all regulations. It's Illinois here too. So as soon as you travel outside the state, lakes are clean, water's clean.
Well, here's the thing:
Subtitles are saying
Wisconsin,
nothing
they dump
close
their
to what we're
septic
saying.
into Lake Michigan.
Right.
So the number one reason why our beaches get closed is because of the shit count, and that all comes from the current dumped into Wisconsin. And yes, they do take care of the waterways better than we do in Illinois. Like our waterways, they shut down lakes, they do fish counts. They're like, okay, we got to shut this down, but we got a long way to go.
But like I said, like I have a place in Michigan. You go up there, the lake up there in Michigan. As soon as you get in the water, 40 feet of water, you can see all the way to the bottom. There's not a lake in Illinois you can see it unless it's a quarry, right? Unless it's a private quarry. So like, it's disgusting here. So it's a big difference.
Oh yeah, take care of your waterways.
Ew, I think about swimming in the Fox River, and I think
Ugh.
about like, oh
Ugh.
God.
The one time we went on a canoe
Ooh.
trip, we rolled the canoe in the river. We got out, and I was riding with the Boy Scouts, right? Riding home with my dad, of course, right? Because he's a scoutmaster. He's like, you gotta get out of the car. It's like, you smell so bad, I can't ride. I'm like, it's from Burn Aurora. I'm like, I live in Geneva. I'm like, it's like, you smell so bad. You're like, we're gonna stop at a gas station.
Walk
We're gonna
home.
hose you down. Otherwise, you can't ride in the car. Like, it just, and I could read, like, you smell it on you so bad. It's just like
Yeah.
old and stale and.
The last time I was in the Fox River, I jumped out of the boat because my girlfriend's little 2-year-old wanted to get in and swim, and it was pretty shallow. So I'm like, yeah, jump in. So I jumped out, and then she jumped in, and I caught her, and I happened to step back, and I stepped on a beer bottle from like 1960, God knows what.
Yeah.
So that involved like a tetanus shot and not being
Yeah.
able to walk, and like, ugh, it was not a good time. But it's that was the last time I was in the Fox River.
Never be in the Fox. No. I did it before and I had to throw away my shoes.
I was there last year.
Ugh.
Every chance I get, I'll fish it.
Well, you fish it, but you go in it.
Yeah, I'll go in it.
I just like
Waders?
water.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap where it's at.
It's-
I'll go.
it's a-
You eat the fish.
Yeah.
I imagine mercury content's like 3,000 in all these fish.
Mercury count, like, yes, we're so industrial. You know, fish out of Lake Michigan, you got the same mercury count. Same thing here. And it depends on what part that you catch it on, because you got walleye all throughout.
Right.
Large,
There's
small,
walleye,
small.
there's
muskie, northern.
Right. The record muskie was caught right at the dam in Algonquin
Yeah.
2 years ago, right by me. So yeah, there's amazing fish in there. Lake Catherine, part of the chain, has great muskie fishing.
I found out this when I was in Texas.
I won't
There's
get
something
fish from
called
Braidwood.
noodling
Yeah.
in Alabama,
Grab
and
the
I want to go
catfish.
do
Yep,
that.
stick your arm in the catfish.
Yeah.
Grab
It sounds terrifying, but I'm totally in for that.
Go for
Have
it.
you not seen the reality
It
shows?
sounds
with
more
it?
like a sex
No.
There's a whole reality show
Yes.
that's all of this noodling.
No, I would totally do that.
So you
though.
got furries, and then you got noodlers, and those are the girls in bikinis who go get the catfish.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Like the 50 to 100 pound channel cats that are sitting there.
and it's always, I'm like, okay, why am I looking at a girl in a bikini doing this?
Because it's a girl.
Because it's a girl in a bikini.
Yeah.
Nothing's
Get you
cool.
out.
There's nothing
Okay.
cooler than a chick diving in the water. She's pulling up a 100-pound fish. She's not like, ew, fish. Right? That's cool when the chick's no longer like, ew. And that's cool.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Right?
Wouldn't that be today called fisting?
Oh no.
Is this a family show?
No, it isn't.
Not anymore.
My family's not watching.
Oh my god, that's fucking terrible.
So,
We're like, how do we come back from that?
You
What is
can't.
your Legion fundraising thing?
All right, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because losing Swedish Days this year was devastating.
Well,
There's
everybody,
nothing going on this year.
yeah, everybody lost everything.
But Swedish Days was the biggest fundraiser for the Legion
Mhm.
of the year.
For towns, you know, for non-for-profits, having that inability to create festivals or charity events that people would look forward to has impacted the entire country. You know, like, and we don't really. Sometimes you don't understand at how deep the impact is until it becomes personal. You know, so talking to Brian and those guys, you know, understanding where they're at financially, you know, the American Legion in Geneva is not a traditional American Legion where they have a kitchen or a bar. You know, for us, going to the American Legion was a place, you know, as a veteran, you can go drink, you know, or the VFW, you know, play
the
cards.
fish fries on Fridays and cards.
Rent out for weddings, parties, whatever. Here in Geneva, you know, the guys are trying to redo the kitchen, redo the bar so that it becomes a viable revenue source. And then they can't rent it out because of all the restrictions that are coming in. And Swedish Days, which was the beer tent, really big for them. So I was figuring out all these different ideas of what to do. We were originally supposed to do a beer tent barbecue. And you need at least 30 days for marketing behind that to create the type of attraction. And I did a pop-up barbecue in Aurora, which was fun. Got that out of the way, and I talked to Brian. I said, we got to do something. Like, we're just staying quiet. And it's hard to get everyone together because they have full-time jobs. So for me to think about this, it's almost natural. So you have other people that do other things, and they have to step out of their comfort zone and focus. And they're all doing this out of the goodness of their heart. You know, they're not making any money from it. So I had to grab them, and I was like, all right, let's do this. I'll do 3 dishes. Proceeds of this goes back to the American Legion. So Monday, starting the 13th until Sunday the 19th. So we brought back one of our signature items called the brisket burger. My son, Barine, we call him LB, is our bar manager, so everybody knows him. Created a cocktail called the Chuck Norris.
It drinks you, you don't drink it.
Well,
Chuck Norris drinks you, you don't drink it.
It's unassuming, just like Chuck Norris. You look at Chuck Norris, you're like, I could take him. And then before you know it, he's like, whack, whack. You're like, oh, fuck. What happened? And so it's made with Whiskey Acres Bourbon, which is out of DeKalb, so they're another local company. The beef comes from Slagle Farms, which is Fairbury, Illinois. And then Penrose Brewery will have one of their beers on tap. So the proceeds of the sale of those 3 items all go back to the American Legion.
Awesome.
So to help replenish their coffers.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and hopefully in the next few years we can get the bar renovated and the kitchen open and start to do, you know, traditional fun things that people.
Once the downstairs back up and running.
That'd be nice.
That's the real thing to get it going again. So you can have a regular crowd there.
And what's the dates and location for your fundraiser?
I think I said Monday the 13th.
Yes.
Till Sunday the 19th. It's okay.
I'm like, oh,
She's
crap.
had 2 shots.
Yeah, it's that second
I know.
shot.
I'm so handsome.
Done.
So she was like, either that or I look like the Ewok. Just rub.
Oh, man.
So it's this whole week. Hopefully we'll be able to kick off and just continue to do more because, you know, the towns and the cities are very flexible. So you have to take advantage of that and think outside of the box to create revenue streams. So we do this. Hopefully we can do the beer tent.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to set up smokers. You know, I have friends that do barbecue. They'll get me the smokers, and we'll have those set up. The beer tent, parking lot, which American Legion has, but it's just the cost and logistics and getting everybody, you know, together to do it. And it's not something that you want to just put together because it'll fall apart. You end up losing money.
Yeah.
So.
Well, should we do the giveaway?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we can still be on Facebook, but Instagram turns
Go
off
ahead.
after 1 hour.
What do we do? We give away Battleship. We gave away Battleship.
We gave away,
Did you do Little Rocket Man?
no, we really have not done a Little Rocket Man. And he'll be hurting tomorrow.
Turn it upside. I'm an old man, so that really probably kills me. We do a Roller Rocket Man. Sticker,
Show
of course,
it
as
to
always.
the audience out there.
Okay.
Katie.
Frame the product.
Hmm?
Frame the product. Which it's like our own Vanna White.
Oh, yes.
You can win this fabulous
You can
prize.
win this beautiful package of Little Rocket Man.
Why does it have to be a little package?
And Katie delivers it personally to you wherever you're at.
Statistically speaking.
Katie will be driving and delivering it to whoever wins, wherever you are.
You just have to pay for shipping and handling.
Yes, especially the handling.
And, well, you can check out her rates at katiesportsman.com.
I'm like, I know I'm going to get a million messages like, do you have an OnlyFans yet?
They're in 5-hour weekend packages.
That's bubble.
It's coming. This is medium espresso blend.
Espresso. So good. We do a sticker, of course. And I didn't ready to get trivia questions. So
Anybody got a trivia question they can think of?
you have to know the answer to.
Somebody say
Let's
something?
see.
Yeah,
On
so she's
Instagram.
watching now.
Ooh.
Somebody said, do you guys deliver to FPOAE?
Yes, Benjamin, we absolutely
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
Let's do a food trivia.
Okay.
You better know the answer.
You better know the answer because none of us will.
It's in my head, so I'll make it up.
Cool.
There you go.
He's like, I can give
Only
you the
I
answer
know the
want
answer.
to.
Only I. The power.
Yeah, so we don't know if he's telling the truth or
What
not. So
are
we'll just
you
go with whatever
doing?
answer he comes up with.
2 drinks in, that's what happened.
Oh, wait, you want another one?
He's a lightweight now.
I brought cigars for you, too, Sal.
I'm like, I spent a week drinking White Claw, and this just, like, messed me up. White Claw, I was good. Yeah.
I got it right here. I brought cigars, Sal. You want one? Anybody?
Cigars.
Yeah.
I'm going to puke all over this table if I smoke a
Ooh,
cigar.
That's, remember the vodka I was telling you about?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I don't know if I'm going to have a shot of this, though.
Oh, God.
I'm just showing you what it is. It's from John from Warrior Vodka.
Warrior Vodka.
Oh, sweet. Oh, gosh.
Support those who defended our freedom.
He's a Marine too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think Crestwood, Illinois.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's by my buddy's places up there. Cousins out there. So Dennis, if
Cousins?
you're watching,
I know what Cousins is.
you do?
I do.
You've been
They're
there?
not cussing.
Cousins.
Oh.
It's the bar.
Both.
So
I
you
know
have
both
there
of
was
them.
in Tinley, Midlothian, and Blue Island.
I've been to Midlothian.
Okay. Yep. So Dennis, if you're watching this, or anybody out there in Tinley Park, you got to get some of this vodka, buddy. All right.
That's a good bottle.
There you
I
go.
like that bottle.
All right.
All right, what's the trivia question? We got to go before Instagram goes away.
Okay. What's the truth?
You were coming up with it.
I got it.
All right.
Oh gosh.
Where?
I'm like, can I play?
Where was the chocolate brownie invented?
The chocolate brownie.
Better hurry up and Google, folks. We only got
The
like 5
hint-
minutes left on Instagram.
The hint is, it's in Chicago, and it's a Chicago dish. Believe it or not.
It's a chocolate brownie.
So looking for the name of the restaurant or the bakery? Something like that?
Are you looking for a restaurant name?
Well, so it was invented in the early 1900s, and it wasn't necessarily about restaurants. It was more about hotels.
Oh,
That's the hint.
got it.
The
now.
Hotels back in the day.
Like the Cobb salad was invented at the Waldorf. No, the Waldorf salad.
I'm like,
There you go.
The
eh,
Cobb salads are made in there somewhere too. Like another hotel also.
you can't give people the answer. All
We're
right.
not going to. It's a hint.
Hurry up and answer. You get a bag of Little Rocket Man and a sticker. Answer, folks. Google it.
Bobby Curtis said Guinness is my go-to.
Another Marine. Great.
He is.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I don't
the
have
Army.
I don't have Bush Light for the
was
Army.
Whoa.
Well, tell Chelsea Bobby Curtis says. Is he right?
No.
Sorry, Bobby. Guess again, folks.
No. I believe in you. You guys can Google it. You can literally cheat. We don't know.
Just Google
God.
Brownie.
brownie.
Break out your encyclopedia
Chicago.
and then flip through.
Chocolate brownie.
Get the
Chicago.
encyclopedia from the 1800s.
1976 encyclopedias. My parents never bought the updates.
1986.
Brownies is right next to boobs, so just type that in.
Can you imagine if we had encyclopedias for 2020? They would be like this year's shit show. Like
Oh, but-
Australia was on fire.
All sins are washed in history. Like it'd be like 2020 is a great year. They immediately stopped the coronavirus. It could have plagued the whole world, but didn't.
But then when you get to the P's, you'd have
Right.
perineum sunning.
Oh
And then a young Joe Biden made a run for president against the incumbent. With much
young-
energy.
Oh my
Joe
God.
fought a great fight to try to become the new president. They crushed that communist Bernie.
But he got lost on the way to.
I hope there's like a whole 2020 book, and it's like when we were missing toilet paper, and then it was like
Oh,
a
gosh,
progression of
That's
like
what they should be like.
events.
Coronavirus caused insanity. People started buying toilet paper. Nobody knows why.
Well, you had
Coronavirus hit a part of the brain that made people buy toilet paper.
the coronavirus.
Palmer House Hotel.
Boom! Bang! Bang! Bang!
I
Bang!
knew it was
Bang!
Palmer House once it wasn't. Palmer House, everything's there.
Who is that?
Adam
Adam
Caballero.
There you go,
That's
Adam.
my friend.
Adam, DM us your
He bought me the
address.
shirt. That was who I was with in Texas. My friend Adam.
There you go, my man.
I annoyed
Did
him
you
for
send him
like
the answer? Is that what
4
you did?
straight days. No, because I didn't know the answer. Oh, wait, John Kaiser gave the answer before him. Sorry, Adam, you suck. John, good job.
Where's John, on Instagram?
John, yes. John runs a veteran fishing thing out of Oregon.
I
Oh,
don't
fish
know.
with that.
Ooh.
Awesome.
There you go.
Cool.
Salmon
We'll-
fishing.
we'll-
You know what? Tell
We'll
them
give them both
both.
prizes.
Tell them both to send us.
Send us your addresses. Bobby Curtis, you're a little bit late. Sorry, Bobby. You're awesome.
And then we could do trade. I can give
Awesome
you a gift
family.
card for food in Geneva, and you can fish with me out there in Oregon.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll also bring you coffee if you let me come fish with you in Oregon.
You can come with us.
As long as we're doing like inland, like
We're going to go in September, I think, salmon fishing.
September.
Don't sound so
I want to
excited.
do walleye, largemouth, or muskie.
I've never been real fishing. I've only ever been like somebody took me to a pond and I caught like
Better than outdoors. is the name of John's
sunfish and
business.
bluegill.
Awesome.
Well, go halibut fishing when you get up there.
Good job, Bobby. Just like in school, you just copy off once everybody says the answer, then you jump in the same. What he said.
Bobby said I was riding the bandwagon.
That's why I say just like
Yep.
everybody, like in school, when someone jumps up with the right answer, you're like, yeah, that was who it was. Yeah, you have no idea.
Like I knew exactly what it was.
Send us your info. We'll send you bags. Awesome.
DM us or whatever they message her, or
John says bring it with you.
I can do
or
that.
she can do that.
I can do that.
The dogs might be sniffing it the whole time.
I wish my dogs were coming.
John's
That's
just a volunteer for that. It's all right, John. Thank you for all what you do, man. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you, John.
Take friends fishing. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to go on a real boat.
Now, where are you going fishing?
Oregon.
Okay. So, are
Ocean
you?
fishing? Or are we doing inland? What are we doing?
I have no idea. John,
John,
pitch in here.
There's alcohol and boats involved. That's pretty much
Conversation.
all I used to like. That's someone said like.
Yeah, John was
Alcohol,
like, "Do you want
boat.
White Claw and fish?" I was like, "Hell yeah, sign me up." He's like, "Bring a vet with you." I was like, "All right."
There you go.
so next time we know when you come here, we need White Claw.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I love the bait. The bait for white chick used to be like the fucking Uggs and a pumpkin cappuccino. Now it's just a can of White Claw.
Wait.
I own
It used
Uggs,
to be
and I live
Zima.
for pumpkin.
Zima, that's right. Zima before. Zima was
Zima?
Zima was the
Zima.
Jolly Rancher.
I thought it was
When I was in high
Franzia
school, was get your
or
girlfriend
Mike's
Zima.
Hard Lemonade.
Yeah, but you bought your girlfriend Zima, then you bought a bag of Jolly Ranchers, and they dropped Jolly Ranchers into Zima.
See, now
Oh,
I'm older than you. It used to be they used to do wine coolers, sparkling wine coolers, in the 2-liter bottle. So it used to be.
Oh, that's horrible.
slam this.
Well, when you're
bottle.
18 years old, you have what? Limited access to alcohol. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, can you get me something from the liquor store? Sure. What do you got? Most of the time, the guy would run away with your money because all you had was like $10.
Right.
But if you finally got somebody, they would get you like
river salmon. It's awesome.
it'd be like 3 liters of.
My like
sparkling wine
first
cooler.
drinking experience
Wow.
ever, I was like, I want something that tastes good because beer is disgusting. So my girlfriend's older brother, he's like, "What do you want?" I was like, "Give me chocolate stuff." He's like, "How about Kahlua?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds amazing."
that's good.
I drank a bottle of Kahlua. I
Ooh.
jumped on the
Ooh.
trampoline. I puked in the bushes. I woke up on the sofa bed, spooning a box of Cocoa Puffs with Jello shots on the ceiling.
Sounds like a
It
fucking
was
great
not.
night.
Yeah,
That sounds like a
no.
perfect evening.
So,
Do
like,
you still drink Kahlua?
No.
Oh, once I always have that. Once you have that bad experience, like never
Kahlua and
again.
tequila.
all
No.
3 of my kids are older, so I taught them how to drink. But
You taught them.
well,
You're like, sit down.
no,
drink
you
this
got to have a
vodka.
conversation. You got to have a conversation.
Really?
I was like, 1 drink an hour, you feel okay. 2 drinks, you're going to feel silly. If you can taste the drink, then it's 1 drink an hour. Because you don't. What happens is people don't want to talk about it. Then
Yeah.
they go away to college, and then they're doing stupid shit. They're beer bonging alcohol, straight alcohol. It's like, no, have a conversation, which is okay. But they didn't drink around me. But now that they're older and they're old enough to drink, they're telling me their liquor stories. Like, yeah, we totally stole all the liquor in your cabinet, and we would like do this and then pour water back into it.
And you're like, yeah.
I was like, that's why that shit tasted terrible. But then my wife
Darn
shared her
kids.
story. She's like, yeah, I did the same thing. I took dry vermouth from my parents' cabinet.
Oh my god.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. I remember drinking Sambuca
Oh,
and being like, oh, this is going to be great. Then I was like, oh, God. It was a mistake.
My buddy from high school, Dennis Ulich, who owns Cousins. There's a shout out to the Cousins in Tinley Park. We went to Las Vegas. It was the pizza nightclub convention because we worked together for the
It's like
bars.
the best convention.
I know.
Pizza nightclub.
So
I just want to go to one of those now.
I said, if we're going to buy the bars, and we did, we're not going to drink. And he was like, what? He goes, why do you think I bought a bar? I was like, well, we can't drink. So I didn't drink for 90 days.
Which one?
The last one.
Bob?
And at the end of the 90
Oh, where's
days, we
it? Right
ended up
there.
going to the convention.
About to get somewhere.
So he's the type of guy that knows everybody. We're in Las Vegas.
Oh.
He's sending
Thank
text
you.
messages to bartenders, and they're coming to meet him.
Say thank you too. I can't read it.
So I drank
I
these
don't have my
weird
glasses.
concoctions,
Yes, I need glasses.
and one of the cocktails had peach schnapps in it. And the
Ooh,
peach schnapps
yeah.
reminded me of being 16 years old